Hello? Okay, we're
I'm
back.
sorry.
We just had a little problem. Darn.
Things are all messed up here in Miami because, well, we've got penguins outside and we're not used to that kind of
Yeah.
weather. I mean,
Okay.
it's 12:30 and it's still 50 something degrees here. So,
Okay, so we were talking about sex.
right. Sex addiction is one of those things that there's different gradients to it, but we don't acknowledge that in society. What we what we're seeing is that people think, well, here we are with you know sex addicts are the people that you find getting blowjobs in the alleyways, or they're the ones that are masturbating 20 times a day, and you know what, they are. I'm not saying that they're not. Okay. In fact, I was just reading something on like John Mayer. I was telling Paul earlier today about that. This article that just came out on him, that where he said, wonder why people start addictions. Like, why is my ex addicted to alcohol and not sex? Okay, we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we'll be there.
So, John Mayer saying that in the morning, he turns on his computer, and before he even gets out of bed, he sees like 300 vaginas looking at porn.
Yeah.
Okay? The amount of sexual imagery in our society nowadays, it makes it almost impossible not to be sex addicts. We've become preoccupied with it, and that's the biggest part. The psychological component to addiction is being obsessive compulsive.
Right.
If we are constantly thinking about it, you already have that first little piece. The compulsive part is the actual doing of it.
Right.
The obsessive part is the thinking of it. And this is where pornography fits right in. Now, ex-boyfriend, alcoholic, not addicted to sex. Well, here's the thing. Alcohol is a depressant.
Right.
Most men who become alcoholics can't get it up anymore. Okay? What they can become is maybe they're not doing it, but they'll be porn addicts. So they'll watch it and almost like torture themselves with it. And watching and watching and watching, but they can't do much with it. And then they drink because of the shame of not being able to get it up. Pretty fucked up. That's the bottom line.
Right.
Nowadays, with all the porn that we have, it's like how many millions and billions of porn sites are out there, from free to extremely expensive. If you put up a porn site, you're going to make money because there's always somebody out there to look at it. And it is so horrible. It's destroying people.
Right.
And we're not acknowledging that. It's like even, it was commonplace for a therapist to say things like, oh, go home, relax, put in a porn, get in the mood. And we would actually prescribe that. Okay? We didn't realize we were telling people to, it's like we were like doing the gateway drug to sex addiction, that's really messed up. And as someone who admits to have a sex addiction, for a long time, it was if I felt bad about anything, if I felt unpretty, if I felt too fat, if I felt too angry, if I felt anxious in any way, then I would have to have sex. And instead of dealing with these emotions, I immediately jump to just make me have an orgasm and I'll feel fine. Okay? Thus masking and pretending like these things don't exist anymore. But after the orgasm, after the thrill is gone, after the cuddling is over, these things were still there. Which makes this just the perfect addiction, because then of course it's like, well, then have another orgasm and have another one. Because then, that'll just keep wiping away. Like this is like this mini amnesia that's going to get rid of all this stuff. And it's still there. So therapy. I have a sex addiction for him. Okay, where were we?
Basically, he drinks a lot. Obviously, I'm reading about your ex, and obviously he drinks a lot, and she still has the hots for him.
Okay,
To
sweetie,
me,
okay. This is the perfect addiction. Okay, why is it the perfect addiction? You have this is not a sex addiction.
Mm-mm.
This is a relationship addiction.
Right.
Okay? You need to know the difference. It's him. It's not the sex.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one. I mean, it's like, did you just see how I compared why I was having sex? I was having sex to cover up these feelings. You are addicted to him. You are obsessed and have thoughts of him.
Right.
No. I'm sure you totally want to screw him. That's not a problem.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that it's him. He is the drug.
Right.
And if he is the drug, then that is a relationship addiction.
Mm-hmm. If you were going out having sex with other men and trying to fill that need over and over and over again,
Right.
then that would be more indicative of a sex addiction. What you're trying to do is have a relationship, whether it's good for you or not.
Right. It's obsessing about something that's unhealthy for you.
Right.
You know he's unhealthy for you. You know he's wrong for you.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't get enough of him.
Right.
You know it's awful. That's the relationship addiction.
Right there.
You know, do you have anxiety when you can't talk to him? Do you have anxiety when you can't see him?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, that is the addiction. That's that. Okay, you think of you know, they show people like with OCD. If you've ever watched the show Monk with Tony Shalhoub,
Right.
you know, oh my God, you know, it's like that he was a germaphobe and he was an allophobe. He was like, you know, he had lots of phobias, and if he didn't do things the right way, what would happen to him? He'd get that anxiety, and they're like, oh my God, please, until I can fix that. Now, throw that into a social aspect. When we can't have our addiction, you know, if we can't have this guy or this girl, you know, whoever it is you're addicted to, then it's that you feel that anxiety, you know. It's like you're texting him and he doesn't text back, and then you start getting that rumble in your stomach. You might get nauseous, start sweating. He's taking over your body. Okay, I can't breathe without him. Okay, this is a relationship addiction. This is completely unhealthy for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, you know, it's like, I bet you, and you know, that most of your life is really good. Most of your life, you've got your shit handled.
Right.
And that's that one thing. You know, that one thing that just doesn't fit, because everything else is. What are you sorry about, honey?
And she knows it's bad.
Okay. Yeah. Don't be sorry. Hey, be sorry to yourself, because you're doing this to yourself because you deserve better.
Right.
You deserve someone's health who is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that this is going to work, and the only way this is going to happen, is if you go to therapy.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly.
Mm-mm.
I don't throw that around like, oh, you know, have another cracker and move on. You know, I'm saying you need to take care of yourself. And he, who has a major problem, you know, with his addiction, and I'm sure he loves you in his own way and as much as he can, can't be there for you the way you need him to be.
Right.
I'm not saying that maybe not in the future, but it doesn't look good. No man is good enough. No man is good enough. Bullshit. You want to know something? That's not true. Because there are some men out there that are just wonderful. You know, I mean, when I talk about my sex addiction, I have to admit, I've never like gone out there and looked for sex. You know, he was my my, you know, sex toy basically. You know, this is the one that I would, and the thing is that if he wouldn't give me what I wanted, then it was like, you know, how dare you? He was not just rejecting me. He was basically exacerbating all of my anxieties.
Right.
Okay? You hate that he rejects you.
Right.
Because, of course, he's your addiction.
Right.
So when he says no to you, it's like all that anxiety that comes with him. All that anxiety that you're not good enough to have a man that really cares about you or treats you the way you should be treated, or at least is sober enough to be able to have a conversation with you. You know, all that anxiety comes, you know, bang on in front of you and says, okay, you are not good enough. And then it becomes a self-esteem issue. You know, it becomes I'm not worthy. I don't deserve anything better. I deserve an asshole just like this guy. And this is why I have to stick with him, because I can't do any better. And now, I don't know how many times I've heard women say these kind of things. You know, it's funny. So, in other words, you're a co-addict.
Right.
Addict.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? You encourage his addiction because then he becomes the man you want to be with. Okay? You are, what do you call that? E. Starts with an E.
Enable.
Thank you. You're enabling. I'm the addiction specialist.
Enabling.
You're enabling him, but actually what you're doing is you're enabling your own addiction.
Yes. You found somebody with an addiction that
Matches
yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all do. I mean, I'm not saying...
is the way...
Hey,
right.
He hasn't spoken yet. I'm just saying, you know, my addiction issues, and obviously food is one of them too. This one, shit, he's like my pusher, you know. I mean, this, you know, he has his food addiction.
I
he
have
has
major food addiction.
Food issues, sex issues. Yeah, he's got them too. The best part is, though, the most, you know, important part is that we acknowledge that, and we've been in therapy for many, many years to deal with those issues. So when I talk about it, I don't talk about it something that we're actively doing anymore. You know, yes, we're still actively not actively at this moment having sex, but I mean, we still have sex.
That would be a completely different show.
That's at nighttime.
That's right. Anyhow, we're still having sex at appropriate times.
I'm so hot.
Yes, you are.
No, seriously, I'm hot.
I'll open the door.
Go open the
Go
door.
ahead.
I love the fact, okay, it's like 50-something degrees outside, and we haven't turned on the air conditioner in months now because it's been so damn cold here in Miami. And as soon as we start the show, it like shoots up like 20 degrees inside the house. And we're talking about sex.
This is true. Yes.
See? It's like talking about crack to a crackhead.
We're talking about addictions.
Sorry.
Okay, by way, though, of addictions.
Otherwise, sober, he doesn't want me.
Yeah.
Okay, lie angel, sweetie, honey, baby, go.
Right.
Go to therapy right away.
That's
and you have a child.
By way of therapy and that kind of stuff, another kind of bottom line of addiction is that you're trying to be happy because somewhere along the line you're not. You know, it is when we talk about the dopamine, you're trying to get the dopamine in because it's not happening naturally. That generally is because of childhood issues. I mean, let's look at, you know, a little statistic about sex addicts. 60% of sex addicts were abused in childhood.
Really? What a surprise.
That's
not sexual abuse necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Abuse.
No, abuse.
And you know, we tend to separate these abuses like one's better than the other.
Right.
You know, emotional abuse is better than getting physically abused, which is better than getting sexually abused.
Yeah. No.
And let me tell you something. At the end of the day, it's all the same shit.
Right.
It messes up a person in different ways.
Right.
You know, and this is not like, you know, it's like abuse is not something that you play like bridge where you trump somebody.
That's right.
You know?
Mine's better. Here we go.
You know, it can be as subtle as being ignored. And that could mess you up more than being repeatedly raped by a family member. And I've seen that so many times. And then, of course, you get the people saying things like, well, you know, my parents ignored me. Of course, you know, it's not like they beat me or raped me. And then you're going, yeah, but that's just bad enough, don't you think? I mean, being ignored by the people who brought you into this world. In other words, here, I'm having you. And yet, I don't really need you around. You know? So there is no, I mean, everybody's story is heartwarming and touching and poignant and heart-wrenching. And everybody has their thing. You know, one of the therapists that we work with and we adore, he talks about cameras. Okay? He talks about when you go back to your history and you have like significant events in your life or even very, you know, sublime events that mean absolutely nothing. But somewhere along the line, your camera, your psyche, your consciousness picked up certain images or words or something like that just stuck with you and just become concretized in your subconscious. And you know, you could heal one part of it And then there's that other camera that picked up another angle that is still very present. So when it comes to addictions, it's what scarred you when you were little.
Right.
And what do you need to fill that gap?
Right. That helps you pick out your addiction.
That picks out your addiction. So if mommy and daddy ignored you, or if you were alone a lot, or if you were given very warped sense of what relationship was, then relationships fit that scarring. And being with someone is so incredibly powerful and important to you. Being able to say, he's my boyfriend, he's my man,
right.
she's my girlfriend, she's my woman, whatever is important. And with relationship addicts, sex addicts, things become very fluid. Like, you'll go from one to another, because that's the way it is.
Right.
You have to maintain that contact because that addiction must be filled. Think of it as an alcoholic. Okay, when they're done with their booze of choice, they move on to another one. It's not like they're like, okay, I'm not going to drink anymore because I'm out of gin.
Right.
Well, what do we have?
Vodka works.
Vodka works.
It's
still
clear too.
It's still clear.
Right.
If you run out of beer, then come on, you've heard of people drinking, alcohol, actual, what is it?
Yeah, rubbing alcohol.
Rubbing alcohol,
yeah.
because and
right.
this is actually a good time to bring up your story.
Ah, okay.
This is actually because addiction is addiction. It's filling the need.
Right.
Okay? And we fill the need with something unhealthy, and then we continue in that behavior even though we know it's unhealthy.
Right.
And it doesn't matter how much willpower you put into it. How many times you say, "Lie, Angel, that I will not see him again. I deserve better than that." And you're on the phone again. So now, your story, because I need to go to the bathroom.
Am I talking about Grandpa? Is
Of
that my
course
story?
you're talking about Grandpa. Start from the beginning, though.
Okay, where's the beginning?
The beginning is...
Oh, okay. So, let's see. I'm going to talk about my grandfather. Okay, I love my grandfather. He has passed on. But when I talk about having addiction in my genes, he's probably one of the big carriers. And he has, I guess, what we would call an addictive personality, in that he didn't do just one addiction. He had a whole blend of them. We had sex, we had alcohol, we had drugs, we had the whole thing. So, I was talking to my parents recently, and I always knew that my grandfather was kind of a horn dog. I'd be with my grandparents as a kid, and we'd walk around the block, get some exercise. And there were, what do you call those? Like, kind of like stripper bars that we would just walk past. He would always go in to take a look. Sometimes he'd say hi, that kind of stuff. What I found out later, as I was talking with my parents, like semi-recently, I'm 45 now, so this is, within the last, say, 5 years, is that he frequented the places all the time, and he would, try to have, like, my dad go, and, and they go, and he knew the ladies on the block who used to work in that area, or work in some of those places, and he knew them very well.
Your aunts.
Yeah, my aunts came later.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Let's turn this a little. Yeah, my aunts came later. Let's see. He, throughout my childhood, would be a binge drinker. Big time, the good old fashioned fall down, with the bottle in his hand kind. My grandmother had heart problems, things of that sort. He would take her pills, like eat them, to see what they did. My grandmother passed away when she was 60.
1984.
Right, so she was 68. Yeah.
Dude, I wasn't around then.
Yeah, in her late 60s.
We've gotten to the point in our relationship where Paul thinks I've always been with
That's
him.
Right. Yeah, so she passed away. My grandfather went crazy. And
Seriously?
you really.
Well, actually, no. And I'm gonna take it back because I have to like put in the therapeutic
Yes.
perspective. I'm sitting there on the toilet going, no, that's not right. Addictive personalities.
Okay.
Not necessarily. There's really no such thing.
Okay.
What we do is we do substitute addictions. Okay, so your grandfather probably, I mean, what we know he really had was a severe sex addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, his severe sex addiction, his severe relationship addiction, because your grandparents had a very volatile relationship
Yes,
as well.
they did. They fought a lot.
We call that volatile in our world. But anyway, he was also a binge drinker, and then later in life, after Grandma died, and then of course we know that he would sneak her pills. Then after Grandma died, he became a
Crack addict. He started crack.
Cocaine.
Yeah, cocaine.
He started with
Crack
cocaine.
The pipe.
You know, that is crack.
Yeah.
But he started as a cocaine addict.
Yes, true. Okay.
And then he
then
moved
on.
into crack
Right.
because that's where all the girls were.
Right. Exactly. Because he was picking up. Those are my aunts. He would introduce.
That's when
them
I
to
was
people.
around.
Yes. As well, these are his daughters, and like one of them would be African American, and one would be Asian,
And they all wore
It's
tube tops.
And they all wore tube tops.
what's
and
that
they
about?
were lounging around the couch.
Okay, is it true that addiction genes like alcohol and sex addiction is inherited? No. About 25, 30 years ago, they supposedly found the alcoholism gene.
Right.
And that is completely controversial.
Mm-hmm.
They've never been able to replicate that study. They don't know what it is that we do, what kids inherit from us. And this is another reason why you need to move on from this guy.
Right.
Is behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? We learn from our parents to soothe our emotional needs with stuff.
Right.
Okay? Our emotional needs with relationship.
And you need to
sex.
know. I mean, this is so insidious that even in our family, now realize you've got us who are, we already laid out the credentials. We got like her sister at the table, who is therapist, does all of this kind of stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Her sister's husband, licensed therapist, also does all of this stuff. We all know this stuff.
Right.
I think it was my son. Hurt himself, like fell, smacked his head, that kind of thing. Immediately, we offered him cake.
Yeah.
Okay? Immediately.
Not we, mind you. It was like one of us offered him cake, and then there was 10 of us going, Jesus Christ, what did you just do?
Yes. But it was one of those, but I say we because we did do the thing and then realized, ooh, right.
Yeah.
It's insidious.
And it's just ingrained. It's a social behavior that leads to a very physiological problem.
Mm-hmm.
Once we get the physiological involved, then it becomes a little bit more difficult to separate it. So the first time you're sad and you hook up with your hump buddy and you have an orgasm and you don't feel so sad anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey, I feel better.
Right.
Then you start going, oh, that's not good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's not, it's like one part of your brain goes, that's probably not a good thing. The other part's like, hey, this is easier than dealing with my problem.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay? Because we always think it's harder to deal with the problem and face it head on. Like, this is major work, rather than find a way of placating it and making it happy and ooh, yippee, we don't have to worry about this anymore. Pain is something that does not go away until we deal with it. It's like, as we say in the therapy world, it's like the best way over something is through it.
Right.
You cannot get over your man until you go through the pain of letting go of him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay? And once you get through that pain, you're going to feel 1,000,000 times better.
Right.
Because then you've done it.
Right. This is you just have to trust us. But what you're going through now is so much worse than the pain you're going to go through.
Exactly. Because just the mind fucking of our of letting him go is so much more torturous than actually letting him go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? It's kind of like when we're prepping ourselves for a diet. That we start, going, oh, I really don't want to do that. Oh my God. And you start like stuffing your face and whatever. And as soon as you start like going, oh, this isn't so bad.
Walk 20 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of thing. It's like, I've been doing this to myself all year already for the last 2 months. I wanted to walk every single morning. And I like beat myself up because I'm not doing it. I beat myself up because, or I'm just like, oh my God, I can't really do this. And I just don't do it. And I know that once I do it, I'm going to love doing it. And then I'll keep doing it.
Right.
Okay. And what we find is that we're more prone to getting addicted to self-sabotaging things. Why? Because we are people of low self-esteem.
Right.
Because we're not really taught to like ourselves. Because we are taught from the very beginning that we are not good enough. And how are we taught this? Well, things like the images on TV. The media is the one that really, I mean, if anything we're going to do in Mingle Media is change the way that media is affecting people.
Oh, yes.
The message that we got to get out there is that, yes, you are good enough. You're perfect the way you are. You just gotta make you the best you can and put it out there and love that.
And yes, you can be happy.
Yes, you can be. I mean, I never thought, and this is like, completely raw here. I never thought a fat girl could go on TV or, internet TV or anything like that and have people say, hey, I really like you. Why? Because I don't look right for TV. I don't, it's like I put people off. They either love me or they hate me. This is my reality in real life, situations. And to see that people actually think, wow, she's a pretty cool girl. Well, you know what? I am a cool girl. And I know that. I've always known that. But, it's that mental image of who I am. Okay, that messes it up. So then what do? You have to compensate with what? With food and with unhealthy behaviors. And that's where all your addictions come in.
You're the coolest of the cool. I agree.
I love you. Thank you. Thank you very much. But it's all about being honest, and we're committed to that kind of thing because you know what? That's where your happiness lies. Happiness doesn't lie in a lie.
Right.
Your happiness lies in being who you are and balls to the wall, and here I am, and that's it. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
Anyway.
Now,
see, I went to the bathroom.
By way of, passing this down to the kids, okay, and I'm going to point this out for you, Laura Angel, okay, is you're very much exuding, I would be happy if energy, okay? I don't know how else to put it. It is everything that you're writing there. It's the if only, okay? You're passing that down. People can see that, and I guarantee your kids can see it. Yeah, your son can see it. And that is the way it gets passed down.
Right. And the thing is, it's funny. We were at the bookstore last night, and our daughter is going to take AP Psychology next year, and I couldn't be more excited for her, only because mommy's got this shit handled, And so we're looking through the AP Psych book, the big test at the end of the year. And she's like, so tell me, how are you doing? So I took like the first 5 questions and I knew all the answers. And I read her a question. And the question is about this woman who's like, well, she works really hard at maintaining a career because she wants to make her parents proud of her. And she needs to make more money because she wants the world to see that she's successful, blah, blah, blah. And then the question is, does she have intrinsic motivation, extrinsic motivation, things like that. And my daughter just looks at me like, what is that? And I'm like, well, the answer would be extrinsic, that anything and everything that's going to make her happy is outside of herself. And that is so incredibly unhealthy.
Right.
That when the only motivation you have to maintain a happiness or to maintain what the word that in the past I thought that was like the most I could ever have is contentment. And now I find that word to be the most diabolical word in our dictionary. We're being taught that being content is good enough. Well, that's being taught that you're not good enough for happiness. And that's another extrinsic thing. It's another thing out here that's telling you, if you're like this, then you'll be happy. If you're like this, then you'll be happy. Well, you know what? The only person who could define happiness is yourself.
Right.
Okay? The only person who could tell you that you're going to be happy is yourself. So you do things. You create healthy behaviors to do that.
Right.
Like, what makes you happy? Well, feeling good about myself makes you happy. Well, you know what? Then do so.
Right.
Start feeling good about yourself.
And one of the things, towards the beginning of the show, before, the technical difficulties and that kind of stuff, towards the beginning of the show, we said that some people believe that addiction is just about willpower.
Yes.
There is an aspect to willpower to it. There is, and the aspect is making the decision. Making the decision to be happy, to not, to not engage in the addiction. Law Angel, you just wrote, "I will never be happy." That's your decision. Okay. See, this is where
I will never be happy as long as it's on the outside of you. I will tell you that. As long as everything is on the outside, it's like things like when parents say things like, "Oh, my kid did this, and I was so happy." Well, good God, what pressure on your kid!
Right.
And what,
to make you happy.
To make you happy. That's, I mean, as a parent, we need to really look at that. If your kid only sees you happy when they're successful,
right,
then what pressure have you just put on your kid?
Right.
Shit, I gotta always be successful so mommy can be happy. Okay? This is what we pass down. This is the addiction we pass on.
Right.
Workaholism. Okay? We both have that big time in spades. You'll find us on Facebook and stuff like that at 4 o'clock in the morning because we're working on something else. We just happen to have that open.
Right.
Okay? Why? Because successful people are happy. So if I have success, then I will be happy. You know what? Here. This is what I've been trying to show the whole time. Where the hell is this one?
This way towards
Okay. I have a reminder right here. My little tattoo right here. What is that? In Sanskrit, it says fearlessness. Okay? The one thing that was keeping me from being happy is being fearful.
Right.
Period. Okay? Because I thought I would never measure up to the outside world. Well, you know what I say? Fuck the outside world. Make me happy.
Right.
Okay? I am no longer afraid of the outside world. They can come and get me if they want to, obviously. I'm happy with me.
Right. And no, you don't have a big problem. You have a decision to make. Like, are you going to continue doing this? Or are you going to deal with it?
There's no big problem.
Right.
Let me tell you. It's easier to just let it go. Okay? This is the lie that society tells us. This is like the Matrix. Remember the movie The Matrix? That they want us to believe one thing. Well, the world wants us to believe that our dysfunction is safer,
Right.
and that happiness and being healthy is difficult. When it's the opposite.
Right.
It's funner and easier to be healthy, to be mentally healthy, than it is to be dysfunctional. The energy you use to be dysfunctional and to maintain that dysfunction is exhausting.
Right.
To be happy is just a state of being. There is no doing in happiness. You're just done. You're there. You accept it. You do things that happy people do.
Right.
You smile. You laugh. You do things like that. Does that sound difficult to you? No, it's not. It's just letting go of this other crap. That's all you have to do. There's really nothing else. And yeah, sure, it's like, that sounds like a paramount thing to you. But as soon as you start walking away from this guy, as soon as you start walking away from the dysfunction, you're going to realize, geez, this is so much easier.
Right.
I mean, I'm not crying. I'm not thinking about him.
Yeah.
I'm not texting him 5,000 times a day. I don't have to obsess about him. I don't have to feel like shit because I am doing all these things.
I mean, go back, if you have a moment, go back and look at this chat and look at how many times you obsessed about him.
Yeah.
In this chat.
That's exhausting.
Okay? And then, do the ratio.
Yeah. Think about if you substituted obsessing about him with feeling happy.
Right.
Or feeling good about yourself for something that you are, or that something that you put out there into the world. How much different would that be? If you took all that energy that you have on him and actually gave it to your son instead.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What would your relationship be with your son?
Right.
You know, I mean, think about the future. Now, I'm telling you this as as the mom of a 17-year-old. Okay, I worried so much about being a shitty mom for 16 and a half years. Okay, and I'm gonna make myself cry. No, but it's like you worry about being a good mom that you can't be a good mom. You know, it's like you worry so much about doing what good moms do that you cannot be a good mother. And
it's paralyzing.
It's paralyzing. And once you let go of it and just accept that you are the best mother that you can be, okay, then all of a sudden you become a great mom.
Right.
And this is just, I mean, it's like after all these years of therapy and all that shit, this is just a revelation for me in the last 6 months where all of a sudden I've shifted with her. And now I am the good mom that I wanted to be. Ooh. Sorry. Not sorry. Fuck you. I'm not sorry for that. No, but I feel differently towards her. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that she's going to be leaving. Wow.
Yeah. She will be going off to college. We are dealing with all of that now. Yes.
But you see, this is the good part. You know, it's like, thank you for my therapy. And I get to cry about that stuff. But it's like, this is happy crying. This is not like painful crying. This is like, wow, I finally got it. You know, it's like we're all going through the same thing, people. You know, relationships and parenting and all that. You know, it's like, just be happy. Just be who you are.
Yes, and then Cougar Mama has to point out that we still have 2 at home.
I know. But you see, the good part is that our daughter already broke us in.
That's right.
So we're so ready for them. Those lucky little bastards. You know, I know. I swear. But they're really smart, so we might just Doogie Howser little fuckers and just send them out. That's not true. No. I adore my little monkeys. Sometimes.
Yeah. So we got about 3 minutes more. We need to start the wrapping up. And
the wrapping up is this. In the next few weeks, we're going to be talking about our happiness series.
Right.
And we were just reading about some chick that has a thing. Her name is Gretchen Rubin. She has a happiness project. And that's fantastic and good for her. And she's got a book and go and get it and all that.
Right.
Anything about being happy. We're going to be talking about our take on that, you know, about what's needed to be happy. And we started doing that on our previous incarnation show of Relationship Rehab.
But we're
gonna ramp that sucker up because this is really important. Also in the future, we're going to be doing some giveaways. We are, you know, pretty close to nailing a deal with a sponsor, and that will happen, and you will get to benefit from that.
Oh yeah.
And we're very excited about that. And if you're watching it and you want to sponsor, you know, either this show or our radio shows or our blog or whatever, please do so, because, you know, there's enough love out there. You know,
Mingle Media in general.
Or Mingle Media in general, because you know what? This is the kind of place you want to be. This is if you've got something to say that's worth saying, you know, and that people should be listening to. You know, talk to our producer and to the founder, and there's a page on Mingle Media where you could put your idea out there. You know, get a good group of people that have good, solid conversation and create something amazing. You know, the media is changing, and it's time to take over. We don't need these, you know, Rupert Murdochs and all these other assholes telling us what we need to think. You know, it's time to revert to, you know, simple and healthy and being who we need to be, and not all Tiger Woody. But you know what? I have faith in the guy, because apparently he's going back to therapy. So you know what? I'm going to hold out.
Right.
I'm going to intend that this guy's going to do well. Okay?
So we want to thank you all. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for letting us be us.
That's right. And tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Seriously.
We'll be here next Friday.
12 o'clock.
Bye.
See ya.